The Accidental Discovery Research Station, Omega-7, drifted silently through the void at the very edge of human space. Built into a hollowed-out asteroid, the station served as humanity's most distant listening post, monitoring deep space for any signs of intelligent life. For 3 years, it had detected nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional pulsar signal. Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted her headset and stared at the wall of monitors before her. At 34, she was the youngest communications officer ever assigned to a deep space station, her brilliant mind having earned her the position despite her relative youth. Her only companion was Nova, an advanced AI specifically designed for signal analysis and first contact protocols. The station was quiet today, like most days. Sarah sipped her coffee, a luxury that cost more than most people's monthly salaries to ship this far from Earth. The bitter taste reminded her of home, of the bustling university where she had once taught xenolinguistics to eager students who dreamed of meeting aliens someday. "Still nothing on the standard frequencies," Nova announced, her synthetic voice carrying a hint of what almost sounded like disappointment. The AI had been programmed with emotional subroutines to make long-term isolation more bearable for human crew members. Sarah nodded, her eyes scanning the displays. "Keep monitoring. Command says there's increased subspace activity in Sector 7. Could be natural phenomena, but we need to be sure." Hours passed in comfortable silence. Sarah worked on her research paper about theoretical alien communication patterns while Nova continuously swept the electromagnetic spectrum. The station's sensors reached out across light years, listening for any whisper of intelligence in the cosmic dark. Then everything changed. At exactly 14:23 ship time, Nova's sensors detected something impossible. A signal, artificial and complex, broadcasting on a frequency that shouldn't exist according to human physics. The transmission was encrypted with mathematical patterns that hurt to look at, as if the very structure of the code was designed for minds that thought in dimensions humans couldn't perceive. "Sarah," Nova said, her voice suddenly sharp with excitement, "you need to see this." Sarah's coffee mug hit the deck as she spun to face the main display. Waves of data cascaded across the screen in patterns she had never seen before. The signal was strong, too strong for its apparent distance, and it was moving. Not just broadcasting, but traveling through space at speeds that defied known physics. "Origin?" Sarah asked, her heart pounding. "Unknown. The signal appears to be bouncing between 2 points, approximately 47 light-years from our position. Neither location shows any stellar bodies on our charts." Sarah leaned forward, studying the patterns. This wasn't random cosmic noise or a natural phenomenon. This was communication, structured and purposeful. But the encryption was unlike anything in human databases. Nova, classification protocol. Unknown origin, artificial intelligence, likely, encryption level, ... unprecedented. "Sarah, this is first contact." The words hung in the air like a physical weight. First contact. The moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries was happening. In real time, on Sarah's watch, at the loneliest outpost in human space. "Protocol says we should send an immediate report to command and await instructions," Nova reminded her. Sarah knew the protocol by heart. Any potential alien contact was to be reported immediately, with no attempts at communication or decryption without explicit authorization from Earth. The message would take 6 months to reach command, and another 6 months for their response to arrive. By then, the signal might be gone forever. Begin recording everything, Sarah ordered. Full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about this transmission. As Nova worked, Sarah found herself drawn deeper into the mystery. The signal wasn't constant. It pulsed in irregular bursts, sometimes for minutes at a time, sometimes just brief flashes. The pattern reminded her of something familiar, something from her military days before she became a scientist. Nova analyzed the transmission intervals, compare them to known military communication protocols. The AI processed for several seconds, an eternity in computer time. Fascinating. The interval patterns match tactical military communications, specifically encrypted battlefield coordination signals. Sarah's blood ran cold. You're saying this is military traffic? The patterns suggest real-time tactical coordination between multiple units. If I'm correct, we're intercepting communications between two military forces engaged in active operations. The implications were staggering. Humanity had discovered not just alien intelligence, but aliens at war. The signal wasn't meant for peaceful first contact or scientific exchange. They were listening to someone else's military secrets. Can you decode any of it? Nova hesitated, something Sarah had never witnessed before. The encryption is adaptive, quantum-based. It would take months of analysis, possibly years. But Sarah, there are fragments I can interpret. Mathematical constants, spatial coordinates, time measurements. Do it. Start with whatever you can. Decrypt, Sarah. This violates first contact protocols. We should wait for authorization. Sarah stared at the flowing data on her screens. Somewhere in that alien code were secrets that could change everything humanity understood about the universe. More importantly, if this really was military traffic, people might be dying while she waited for bureaucrats on Earth to make decisions. Emergency protocols override standard procedures when human lives might be at risk, she said carefully. If these are military communications, they could contain information about threats to human space. It was a thin justification, but Nova accepted it. The AI began her work, quantum processors humming with effort as they attacked the alien encryption. Hours passed. Sarah barely moved from her station, watching as fragments of meaning emerged from the chaos. The first breakthrough came at sunset, though there was no sun to set in the endless void around them. Nova had managed to decode a small section of the transmission, revealing coordinates and what appeared to be tactical designations. I've identified the source locations, Nova announced. 2 fleets, approximately equal in size, positioned in empty space 47 light-years from here. They appear to be engaged in some form of conflict. Sarah pulled up the star charts. The coordinates pointed to a region of space that human surveys had classified as empty, containing no planets or significant stellar bodies. Yet, according to the signals, it was the site of an active military engagement. Keep working on the decryption. I want to know who they are and what they're fighting about. The next breakthrough came 12 hours later. Sarah had managed only brief naps, unable to tear herself away from the greatest discovery in human history. NOVA had succeeded in decoding larger portions of the transmissions, revealing structure and meaning that made Sarah's heart race. Sarah, I've identified 2 distinct communication protocols, 2 different species, both technologically advanced, both with military capabilities far beyond human levels. Sarah leaned forward. What are they saying? The first species refers to themselves as the Kether. Their communications suggest they're primarily defensive, trying to protect something. The second species, the Zephyrians, appear to be the aggressors. Their transmissions contain targeting data and attack coordinates. Attack coordinates for what? Nova paused, processing. That's where it gets concerning. The target isn't the other fleet, based on the coordinates I've decoded. The Zephyrians are planning an attack on a civilian population center approximately 12 light-years from here. Sarah felt the universe shift around her. Civilian? You mean non-combatants? The Kether transmissions refer to it as a peaceful colony and sanctuary world. The Zephyrian communications classify it as a soft target and minimal resistance. Expected, the moral weight of the situation crashed down on Sarah like a collapsing star. She was listening to the planning of what could only be described as genocide, an attack on innocent civilians by technologically superior aggressors. And according to the coordinates, it was happening in space that bordered human territory. Nova, are there any human colonies or outposts near those coordinates? Negative. But Sarah, there's something else. I've decoded references to the third species in both communications. From context, they appear to be discussing humanity. Sarah's hands trembled as she gripped her console. They know about us. It appears so. The Kether refer to humans as the young builders and peaceful neighbors. The Zephyrians classify us as primitive and non-threat status. The revelation that humanity was already known to alien civilizations was overwhelming. Enough. But the fact that innocent beings were about to be slaughtered while humans remained ignorant was unbearable. Nova, based on the tactical communications, when is this attack supposed to happen? The AI processed the decoded timestamps and tactical schedules approximately 72 hours from now. 3 days. Sarah had 3 days to decide whether to maintain the silence that protected humanity's secret existence, or to break every protocol and law to warn strangers about an attack that might not even concern her species. She stared at the alien transmissions flowing across her screens, each burst of data potentially containing the location of innocents who would die if she did nothing. The Kether seemed to be the defenders, trying to protect their people from the aggressive Zephyrians. From everything she could decode, they were facing overwhelming odds. Nova, in your analysis, do the Kether have a realistic chance of defending their colony? Based on the tactical assessments I've decoded from both sides, the Zephyrian force is approximately 3 times larger and possesses superior firepower. The Kether appear to be operating with older technology and fewer ships. Probability of successful defense is less than 15%. 15%. Sarah closed her eyes and tried to imagine explaining to her future self why she had chosen to let an entire civilization die to protect human secrecy. She tried to imagine explaining it to the families of the victims, to history, to her own conscience. The decision crystallized in her mind with perfect clarity. Some choices defined not just individual character, but the character of entire species. This was humanity's moment to choose what kind of neighbors they would be in a galaxy full of strangers. Nova, prepare a transmission package. We're going to warn the Kether. Sarah, that action will expose humanity's existence and capabilities to unknown alien civilizations. The consequences could be catastrophic. Sarah turned to face the AI's camera with determination burning in her eyes. The consequences of doing nothing will be worse. If we let innocent people die when we could have saved them, what does that say about who we are as a species? She began composing humanity's first intentional message to alien intelligence, knowing that her choice would echo through history. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn that humans were not just builders and dreamers, but protectors of the innocent, regardless of species. The signal that had accidentally reached human ears was about to receive an answer that would change everything. The choice that changed everything. Sarah's fingers hovered over the transmission controls as she prepared to make first contact with an alien species. The weight of history pressed down on her shoulders, but the knowledge that innocent lives hung in the balance drove her forward. Nova, have you finished the translation matrix? Completed. I've analyzed the Kether communication protocols and created a basic translation program. It should allow for simple message exchange, though complex concepts may be difficult to convey. Sarah took a deep breath and began typing her message. She kept it simple, direct, and urgent. To the Kether defenders, we are humans from the third planet of the yellow star you call distant light. We intercepted your communications. The Zephyrians plan to attack your colony in 72 hours. We wish to help. The transmission burst across space at the speed of light, carrying humanity's first intentional message to alien intelligence. Sarah watched the signal strength, indicators as her words traveled through the void, toward beings she had never seen, speaking a language she barely understood. 12 minutes passed before the response came. The reply was cautious, confused, and filled with mathematical queries that Nova worked frantically to decode. They're asking for proof of our identity and our knowledge of their situation, Nova translated. They want to know how we intercepted their secured communications and why we would risk exposure to help them. Sarah smiled grimly. Even facing extinction, the Kether were careful and suspicious. It was a trait she could respect. She prepared a second message, this time including specific tactical details that only someone monitoring both sides of the conflict could know. We intercepted tactical communications from both fleets. The Zephyrians have positioned 3 battle groups at coordinates 47.3, 52.7, and 41.9 relative to your home system. Their primary assault will come from the North Galactic approach, while smaller forces create diversions from the east and west sectors. Attack commences in 71 hours. 14 minutes. The response came faster this time, only 8 minutes. When Nova translated it, Sarah could hear the amazement in the alien syntax. How do you know this? The Zephyrians use quantum encryption that should be impossible to break. Are you allied with them? Sarah's heart raced. This was the moment of truth. She composed her reply carefully, knowing that her next words would determine whether humanity gained allies or made enemies. We are not allied with any faction. We intercepted your communications by accident while monitoring space near our territory. Our artificial intelligence companion decoded your encryptions because we feared for our own safety. When we learned of the planned attack on your colony, we chose to warn you because it is wrong to let innocent people die when we could prevent it. The silence that followed stretched for nearly an hour. Sarah paced the small command center, watching the stars. Wheels slowly passed the observation window. Nova monitored all frequencies, searching for any sign of response. When the message finally came, it was different. The encryption was simpler, the tone more direct, and the content made Sarah's pulse quicken with excitement and fear. Humans of the distant light. I am Fleet Commander Kethvara of the Kether Defense Force. Your warning has been verified through our own intelligence sources. We are grateful, but confused. No species has ever chosen to reveal themselves to warn strangers of danger. Why would you risk your people's safety for ours? Sarah stared at the translated message for a long moment before beginning her reply. How could she explain the concept of human morality to beings who had never encountered it before? Commander Kethvara, we believe that all intelligent life has value. If we can prevent suffering and death, we must try, even if it costs us. This is what makes us human. We cannot stand by and watch innocents die when we have the power to act. The response came quickly, and when Nova translated it, Sarah could sense the emotional weight behind the alien words. Your species is either very wise or very foolish, perhaps both. Our colony world holds 2 million souls, mostly civilians, who fled the war zones, seeking peace. Our defensive fleet is outnumbered 3 to 1. Even with your warning, we cannot prevent the massacre. The Zephyrians have superior technology and overwhelming firepower. Sarah felt her heart sink. The warning hadn't been enough. The Kether was still facing certain defeat, and millions would die despite her efforts. But as she stared at the tactical displays, showing the positions of both fleets, an idea began to form in her mind. Nova, show me everything we know about Zephyrian tactics and technology. Sarah, what are you planning? Something that will either save the Kether colony or get us all killed. Analyze their attack patterns. Look for weaknesses, blind spots, anything we can exploit. For the next 6 hours, Sarah and Nova pored over the intercepted communications, building a detailed picture of Zephyrian military doctrine. What they discovered was both encouraging and terrifying. The Zephyrians were technologically superior, but their tactics were rigid and predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and advanced technology, expecting their enemies to fight. Conventionally, they've never faced an opponent that thinks outside their tactical framework, Sarah realized. Look at their battle plans. They're designed to counter known Kether strategies, but they assume the Kether will fight like they always have. What are you suggesting? Sarah's fingers flew over her console as she began drafting a new message to Commander Kethvara. I'm suggesting we teach the Kether to fight like humans. Her transmission contained detailed tactical suggestions that must have seemed insane to the alien commander. Instead of meeting the Zephyrian fleet in traditional battle formation, Sarah proposed using the Kether's inferior numbers as an advantage. Hit-and-run attacks, feints, and diversions, using the enemy's size against them. But her most audacious suggestion was a joint operation. Research Station Omega-7 might be small and lightly armed, but it had one advantage no one expected. It was invisible to both fleets. Sarah proposed using her station as a coordination center, linking human tactical analysis with Kether firepower to create a combined defense that neither species could manage alone. Commander Kethvara's response was swift and decisive. Your tactics are unconventional and dangerous. They violate every principle of naval warfare. When do we begin? The next 48 hours transformed Research Station Omega-7 from a quiet listening post into the command center for humanity's first interstellar military operation. Sarah worked around the clock, coordinating with Kether fleet commanders. Through NOVA's translation protocols while analyzing real-time intelligence from intercepted Zephyrian communications. The plan was ambitious and terrifying. As the Zephyrian fleet approached the Kether colony, they would encounter not the predictable defensive formation they expected, but a series of coordinated surprises designed by human tactical analysis and executed with Kether precision. The battle began exactly as the intercepted intelligence had predicted. 3 Zephyrian battle groups emerged from hyperspace at the expected coordinates, their massive ships bristling with weapons that could crack planets, Commander Kethvara's defensive fleet seemed pathetically small in comparison, just as intelligence had suggested. But appearances were deceiving. Instead of forming defensive lines, the Kether ships scattered according to Sarah's tactical plan. Small groups of ships began harassing attacks on the Zephyrian flanks while the main force appeared to retreat in disorder. To the Zephyrian commanders, it looked like the collapse of organized resistance. "They're taking the bait," Sarah reported, as she watched the tactical displays. "All three battle groups are breaking formation to pursue what they think are fleeing ships." The Zephyrians had fallen into the first trap. Their rigid tactical doctrine demanded the pursuit and destruction of fleeing enemies, but this separated their fleet into smaller, more vulnerable units. Sarah's plan turned their strength into weakness. Phase 2, Commander, Sarah transmitted to Kethvara. Execute the convergence maneuver. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The seemingly scattered Kether forces suddenly reversed course, converging on the isolated Zephyrian units with coordinated precision. Each enemy battle group found itself outnumbered and surrounded, their supporting forces too far away to assist. But the real surprise came when Research Station Omega-7 revealed itself. Sarah had positioned her small station in the perfect location to disrupt Zephyrian communications during the crucial moments of battle. Nova's advanced processing power jammed their coordination networks, turning their technological advantage into a liability. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," came the panicked transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. Sarah opened a channel to all ships in the battle zone, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had seen the enemy's plans and turned them into victory. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the human vessel Omega-7. You are attacking innocent civilians under the protection of the Kether Defense Force and their human allies. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The psychological impact was devastating. The Zephyrians had prepared to fight the Kether, not to face an unknown species with superior intelligence-gathering capabilities. Their rigid command structure couldn't adapt to the unexpected threat of human tactical innovation. The battle turned into a rout. Zephyrian forces, confused and demoralized by tactics they couldn't understand, began withdrawing from the system. Commander Kethvara's forces, energized by their unexpected success, pursued the retreating enemy with devastating effectiveness. In less than 6 hours, the supposedly unstoppable Zephyrian fleet was in full retreat. The massacre of 2 million innocent civilians had been prevented by the combination of human ingenuity and Kether courage. As the last enemy ships vanished into hyperspace, Sarah slumped in her command chair, exhausted but triumphant. Nova's voice broke the silence. Incoming transmission from Commander Kethvara. The alien commander's message, when translated, carried emotions that transcended species barriers. "Dr. Sarah Chen and the people of humanity, you have shown us something we thought lost from the galaxy. Honor without expectation of reward. The Kether will remember this day, and we will remember our friends among the stars." But the implications of their victory extended far beyond the battle itself. Within days, news of the human intervention spread through both Kether and Zephyrian space. Other species learned that a new power had emerged, one that possessed not just technological capability, but moral courage. The Kether formally requested a full alliance with humanity, offering to share their advanced technology in exchange for continued cooperation. Other species, inspired by humanity's willingness to risk everything for strangers, began reaching out through diplomatic channels. Sarah found herself appointed as humanity's first interstellar ambassador. her small research station becoming the foundation for Earth's first embassy to alien civilizations. The accidental interception of a signal had become the catalyst for humanity's emergence as a major galactic power. Months later, as she stood on the observation deck of the new diplomatic station being constructed around Omega 7, Sarah reflected on the choice that had changed everything. One decision to help strangers had transformed humanity from a hidden species living in fear to respected allies standing proud among the stars. Commander Kethvara visited the station regularly, and during one of their conversations, Sarah asked the question that had been troubling her. "Commander, why did the Zephyrians retreat so quickly? They still had superior numbers and firepower." The alien officer's translated response carried what Sarah had learned to recognize as Kether humor. "Dr. Chen, they weren't just fighting our ships. They were fighting the idea that someone cared enough about strangers to risk everything. That kind of courage is the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. The Zephyrians couldn't comprehend it, so they couldn't defeat it." Sarah smiled as she watched construction crews working on the new station, humans and Kether working side by side. The signal that wasn't meant for humanity had become the foundation of their greatest achievement, proving that in a galaxy full of wonders and terrors, the simple human choice to help others could change the course of history. The wrong frequency had become exactly the right message at exactly the right time.